Good evening. Welcome to the Oz and Mini podcast, episode 12. Yeah, it is another one of these podcasts. It's a fairly serious one, especially considering the advent of loss of one of our dearest friends. May God rest his soul, or may Allah rest his soul, or whomever.
Allah is the Arabic word for God, so like interchangeable in it.
Yes. But yes, and so yes, today, of course, this podcast is again in memory of our dear friend Cameron. And our guests today, we are joined by Minnie.
Oh, I didn't realize I was being considered a guest today, but hello. uh,
and we are
I guess
and we
I'll
are
go.
joined by a new guest, Networker Express or Omar.
Please just call me Omar. I don't like the Express or
At least it's not
something.
Little Network.
Shut up. Okay,
And
this is a somber occasion. Why are we making jokes?
I don't know.
Oh well, coping mechanisms, eh?
Talking of coping mechanisms, yes. Today's podcast is about mental health and how we have to deal with our lovely typing and our lovely.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just making a spreadsheet and my keyboard is loud.
Lovely. But yes, also we do have. It would be a good start to actually remember what what you want to say. But yes, it is. I just want to emphasize that today, obviously, we want to talk about the effect of mental health and how, it is a serious situation. It is a serious thing because, obviously, we have lost one of our friends to obviously mental illness, in a sense. As in like, well, the consequences of a mental illness, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Is like and
It's a knock-on effect
oh
of
yeah, yeah.
of backlogged mental health issues, and yeah. Continue.
So I mean, like right now, I just want to talk about just the general experiences of because I know me and you, Omar, have had um, experiences to deal with mental health, like what struggles we have to go through.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We'll start with
Uh,
yourself.
okay, so this podcast has sort of actually reminded me to take my pills because I was thinking, oh yeah, mental health. Oh yeah, I need to take my pills to keep my mental health in check. Nice one. So sort of thanks indirectly for reminding me to take my Prozac.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Prozac is what my cat's on. Sorry, that's really random.
Prozac
My
is a
cat
human
takes
antidepressant.
my cat
Is your
takes
cat
Prozac.
is
Yeah,
your
but
cat
she's
depressed?
she's
Oh,
really
bless
mentally
her.
ill.
Oh,
My cat
Wow.
has issues.
wow.
Sorry,
It's,
I shouldn't
it's
have
alright.
interrupted,
It's
but
alright.
it was
Okay,
funny.
so I don't know. Yeah, my cat's just insane, but also very therapeutic. Anyway, where do I start? Where do you want me to start, actually? Anywhere particular, or
I mean, just a general overview. At
okay? What at the moment, or just in life?
I mean, to be fair,
Because
in life would actually be a better way to
yeah,
go through
because what?
because it's
Yeah,
quite a
I
lot.
suppose that makes sense because well, mental health just it's cumulative. It doesn't just like go and then have a different focal point. Although it might intensify around the focal point, your other foci or focal point is still there, and it's not fun. So I think most of it started when I was in Germany. I was sort of bullied for being Muslim, which now is like water off a duck's back for me. That yeah, it was sort of my first experience at social inclusion. Then situation at home wasn't nice either. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 12, and my parents literally didn't know. They thought I wasn't developing normally and stuff like that, and it made life at home very hard. Then when I moved to England, I sort of had to live with that both in school and out of school. I didn't know I was acting differently, didn't know I was making friends and stuff. And well, thankfully that sort of situation has changed. With maturity of people, like what I mean, or it's like how people's responses to stuff like mental health well, not just mental health issues, but stuff like autistic spectrum disorder changes as people get older. Like you get what I mean, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was just, and throughout all this, I've never really felt, accepted in school and stuff like that. And like a lot of the good friends I saw, like Aubrey, I've barely ever seen, at most every week or 2 weeks. And that on top with schoolwork was really just catalyzing my self-worth and self-esteem to go down the proverbial shitter, if I'm allowed to say that.
Unfortunately, no, but
Right. Down, down the proverbial drain.
yes,
Sorry.
yes.
Okay. Um, yeah, and I think from that point on, as I sort of got into year 11, I got suicidal thoughts. So that was another interesting thing to fight with. And yeah, I think I told friends much, 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 much sooner than I did my parents. But the problem with that is I can't then seek professional help as easily as I can.
Yeah.
And like it took me until year 12 to tell my parents that I'm sort of suicidal and need help. And I think by that stage I was also having like about 3 panic attacks a day that would leave me immobile and unable to move. And oh god, it just wasn't fun. And yeah, I suppose here I am now, slightly better on the road to recovery.
And that's good.
With with 30 mg's of fluoxetine every single day.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
it makes
yeah.
yeah, go on.
I mean, like I know, I've when I say I've been in the position like I was actually having suicidal thoughts in year 11 as well. So,
Yeah,
um, again, you're not the only one. Um,
yeah. I'd say a lot of the things that stopped me have to stop me from telling my own parents boiled down to like what they what they think, and like the stigma that I discussed with you in PMs earlier.
yeah. It's a common stigma because
Yeah,
it's like a sort of like a barrier in a way. It's like even if you don't think you don't necessarily it is in your head uh to sort of like not be to confide less with your parents when it's something as serious as this because you don't have the
mm,
confidence to exactly speak out to them because
yeah,
like personally
exactly.
the first instances of when my family knew about uh like my mental health going down the drain was when I had a an attempt foiled by one of my friends finding the note. um this was whilst I was still in school, so
Yeah,
I'd written the note during lunchtime. I don't know why, but anyway, it was alluding to rail related.
yeah.
Yeah. But
I,
because of that,
I
I was admitted to West Middlesex Hospital, and therefore afterwards dealt with CAMS. Unfortunately, the issue with the current state of mental health in the UK or indeed anywhere is because it's so horrifically underfunded because the outcomes of mental health issues are so intangible compared to physical health, uh,
yeah,
and also how the what is it the research can be also dealing
very
with.
foggy. Yeah,
Yeah, it means that it's a lot.
funds are wrongly allocated and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
and it's a lot harder to sort of ascertain funds to provide outcomes. I mean, I'll be honest, one of the main failures of CAMS has led to the loss of one of my one of my good friends, and
Yeah, exactly.
it's like I knew he was in the system of CAMS,
Yeah,
and he had to actually go private in order to get antidepressants because it was that severe.
Wait,
Uh,
what?
yeah,
Bloody hell!
yeah, he had to go private.
Jesus
We're talking
wept.
Hampshire, South Hampshire.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean,
So I was going to say I've not had the issue that bad in Brent. Like I actually got my pills prescribed through CAMS itself rather than having to go private to get them. That's actually shocking and scary, to be honest.
it
This
is
is the first I've
scary.
heard of it.
It is scary. It was when I heard it happen and I saw it, yeah, because I was there,
Yeah,
because I was supporting my friend when
yeah,
this was happening, and it's sort of like, opening your eyes to how deficient the mental health scene is. I mean,
mm,
my personal experience was, of course, I remember distinctly, I've had when I say three serious near attempts or near attempts where
yeah,
one dealt with a note, and that was one of them was a note which was my most recent attempt in a sense. The
yeah,
other two was foiled by a fence, because luckily Great Western Railway love putting fences onto fast platforms, and the
yeah.
other one was due to my knee.
You
I
can't,
can't
you
run
can't.
fast,
You also can't run away from your own needs, which is
which is
sort,
good.
which is sort of, and it's also sort of a proverbial way of talking about mental health. If I'm being honest, because
You can't run away
like,
from them.
yeah, you can't run away from your own mind. It's a war that you're fighting on a battlefield that literally follows you everywhere,
Exactly.
and like it's so difficult to get out of it. And oh god,
Yeah, and
and again, it's not really helped by there not being sufficient measures put in place by the state or by any other organisation that are easily accessible
exactly.
in order to combat it.
And the fact that I know some people having to go private can, obviously, it costs a lot of money as well, and it costs, and so, there are some people who just don't have that money.
Yeah, and it's not especially. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a societal trend now, isn't it? Because mental health issues are pretty much skyrocketing, and people are getting much poorer, and the NHS is getting a much larger strain on. And it's, I don't know how to word it. It's literally a system designed for people to succumb to their own wars, and yeah, it's
It's
unpleasant to say the
horrific.
least.
It's
Yeah.
horrific.
Mm.
Um, like right now, I have to deal with my own mental health burdens now, because this is, by the way, now dealing with grief.
Yeah.
Grief led. I don't know whether it's grief led depression or not, or whatever it is.
Mm.
It is feasible.
Yeah.
I remember when I was speaking to one of my, to Cameron, about my mental health issues, because it's like when you are dealing with mental health issues, it's a very, very nice thing if you have people who are also having to deal with the same thing, so you can relate
Mm.
in a way.
Yeah. And
Uh,
it sort of makes you feel less isolated
oh
if you
yeah,
get what.
definitely. And he was basically telling me I have depression.
Yeah.
I have sleeping difficulties, and it was like, I the sleeping difficulties was more because part of it was actually I was selecting to stay up for long periods of time, but the depression, I can see, well, looking back now, I can see that, even though you can have highs even when in your own mental health battle, but there's always gonna, like, in your mind, there's always something in the back that will be like, oh, there's going to be something that's going to happen that's going to put you back to
Trigger its
square one,
release.
or even
Yeah.
yeah. And in my case, it was more like I didn't think that there would be this sort of trigger to bring it
Yeah.
back to, because it is one of the hardest thing to sort of comprehend, really.
Mm.
Also, by the way, we also have another guest on here. We have Fenris. So, I mean, his microphone is currently muted and unmuted.
Yeah, you have to give me a little bit more notice than that before I have to unmute myself. But hi, yeah, I am here.
Hello, I
Well,
am here.
hello, I'm also here for the very first time. Pleasure to talk.
But yeah,
Oh, this isn't the first one I've been on. Don't worry.
yeah, Fenris,
Yeah,
do you
I
have
know, but
do you have anything to add to what we've already talked about first before?
What was the question?
Basically, just like a general consensus of like our mental health situation and our history, like just a general sort of like our experiences.
God, I could speak about that for a while. To be fair,
We
it's been a. I'm 23, and it's been a roller
I mean that's
from a young age.
yeah.
Um, I've always been a little troubled. Never had many friends. Parents split up once at the age of 11. Had to move house. With living it with just my mum. Being bullied in school constantly, every day. Picking, fighting. Just every day was just a struggle. No, parents splitting up and getting back together, splitting up, getting back together. Having to
oh
look
god, I
after
dread
my.
to think.
What's that?
I dread to think because
No, I know.
you like the worst thing that could happen, especially at a young age, is such rapid changes in the situation.
Oh yeah.
It must be so hard to deal with.
My mum falling ill through her own mental health disorders, dyspraxia, chronic fatigue syndrome. What's it called? Neurological functionality disorder, NFD, I think it's called. No, FND, functional neurological disorder, or something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
So through my teenage years, I was always looking after my mum, coming home after school, after a long day at school, being bullied, coming home and having to look after my mum for the time that I was home. Yeah, it has been a struggle. My mum hasn't. So I'd say both myself and my mum hasn't seen the good side of mental health disorders at all. Herself having her own suicide attempt in 2012. I have myself having one early last year due to reoccurring problems. But it's been getting there slowly. Also, I've never been mentally stable. I haven't gone through the CAMS system. I've gone to the doctors and tried antidepressants. They just don't seem to work. So I always try with dealing with things. Having a close network of friends and my fiance, who is lying over there next to me, waving sarcastically, certainly helps.
Oh yeah.
Life is never easy. It's always how you interpret what goes on around you.
Yeah.
That's always the way I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, life's not easy even for mentally stable people. I mean, Oz forced me to come on this podcast to talk about people who don't have mental, instability.
But
So
it's
should I?
the thing is though, mental instability can help. It can obviously affect others around you, even the ones that are mentally stable. And sometimes it can be hard for those who obviously aren't in the brain of said person to comprehend and deal with. Because I mean, Minnie has had to deal with me over the past weeks, and obviously
Yeah.
I presume there's a few other mental health issues that arise with other friends. So yeah.
I think a main reason I didn't tell my parents so early on because I sort of saw how being autistic was affecting my mum. It's like, all right, I better not put more stress on her, so I'll just keep it quiet. And yeah, so that was a big mistake.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't communicate, then how are people supposed to know? That's how
Yeah.
it really feels. Oh yeah,
Mm.
Minnie, I do want to ask you about
Yes.
how it feels to deal with other
Mhm.
people who are around you that are having mental health issues. For example, you've had to deal with obviously myself recently,
Yeah.
but you've also had to deal with people in the past. For example, Cammy.
So I've dealt with many people in the past whom I won't name names of because it's their own
Privacy.
private stuff that they've told me, and I'm sorry, I'm just not that type of person. And yeah.
I'm
Sorry, someone is literally doing God knows what outside my bedroom. But
That's
yeah,
slightly
Scream back
concerning.
at them.
no, I probably will. um,
Screaming back always helps.
oh, shut up. But where was I at? Oh yeah, dealing with other people's mental health issues. I mean, it's not easy because a lot of sensitive people might like take it really personally and break down and get panicked. But I don't know. I'm not that kind of person. I just take life as it comes at me, and
And I presume sometimes life throws at you your roommates being your your people who are being quite annoying. But yeah, it does mean though that it's hard to sort of ascertain when you are outside of the circle, because obviously I've been outside the circle trying to help other people's mental health issues and stuff, and trying to alleviate at least some of the pain, because it's a long battle, and it's a it's a long war within yourself with mental health, and
Mm.
it is, be honest, some people lose that battle,
Yeah, as we've
and
sadly seen.
yeah, it hurts. It does hurt, and it means that it just means that there are times where you just have to, we have to face the fact that this is serious. Mental health is serious. Mental health is a thing that can kill you if
Mm.
gone wrong. It is, and also when you're on the other side when you're on the outside looking in, you feel helpless sometimes. You feel
Mm.
like you can't do anything because you
yeah,
don't know what
that's
to feel.
so true.
You don't know what to say. When you try to say something, it doesn't necessarily come out right, or even if
Right, yeah.
yeah, or even if you say something that comes out right, it might be like, how on earth are they going to respond, or are they going to even respond? Are they going to respond? Are they going to be?
It's
It's
mm.
just
Should I
so
give
hard,
my tips
so
for?
hard. It's so
Should I
hard
give
when you're
my
on the outside.
tips
Go
before I
on.
have to? Okay. Well, just stay calm is definitely like the biggest thing. Because the worst thing you could do is like stress the other person out. And if they're, you know, suicidal to that extent, just be like, well, no, like, just like, you're just having a down moment. Life goes better, life goes up. Think of all the people who this will impact. Think of how
Think
it's
It's
about
going
your
to leave
pet.
everyone else.
yeah,
Think of your parents, think of your cats and dogs, think of your friends, think of like anything, absolutely anything. Think of your passions, think of your goals, think of your dreams, think of all the things that
distract
you
your
would
thoughts
lose.
basically,
Just
Yeah.
like
because
break them in a sense. I know it sounds really mean,
it's the
but
thing is
there's no point in going, oh, you're okay. Like, no, just don't do
but
that.
uh
But
because
also, don't get super stressy about it. Don't get panicked. Don't be like, oh my gosh, la la la, because then they're just gonna be like, oh great, well this is the life I'm leaving.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
mean, I suppose it's easier said than done, but like, if
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure. It's
yeah,
so hard. I would not wish it upon anyone.
mm.
And I don't know what it's like. I mean, all of
Honestly, you're
you
you're
in
so
this
lucky.
group chat know what it's like.
Yeah.
Well, all of you on this call know it's like except myself. So I therefore don't have any experience about what you're feeling. I don't know. Like
You're
It's
so
what goes through
lucky.
your head. I'm not lucky. I'm strong.
Well, I mean, strength is, you know, you don't know how much strength someone has just randomly generated. Because
I've put up with a lot of fun things in my life to get to this point where I am
fair
now,
enough.
and
Yeah.
I will not ever. You might think a lot of people don't know me, like none of you knew me back in the day when I was bullied and when I was treated like,
Terribly.
What's that?
yeah, and I don't talk about it, and I really never bring it up because I just would rather not.
I mean, there are some things that
have it in
it
my
takes a
life,
while to
and
bring
I'm
up.
over it for sure.
Yeah.
I don't really chant it around to everyone else. People don't tend to know that I've gone through this. People just think that I was born with this strength and Minnie doesn't care about anything. That's just the way she was born.
No.
Minnie went
It
through
takes
a lot.
time to gain, I suppose.
And I also don't have many emotions, so
Yeah.
also kind of helps.
Yeah, because it does
But,
take. Yeah, it does take time to gain a sense of mental strength, to gain a sense of physical, as the strength, and some resilience. And if you're suffering from mental health issues from a young age, it can, it takes a toll on you so much when you're actually trying to develop and trying to, it does mess with your mind, and it also messes with
like,
everything
It
alongside.
becomes like an almost default setting, and as you said, especially with age, and it's so difficult to develop it. It's almost as if having mental health issues becomes a standard in your life, and it's almost scary to, be without it. It feels like something terribly, even, it's right issues. You get what I mean?
Yeah, and also because it's so hard to sort of like actually try and sort it, because every mind works differently. Obviously there are some like channels that do work for a group of people, but it's sort of like it's trying to find the right channel, and it's so hard, which is why it's so hard for healthcare professionals to try and sort things out, which is why sometimes sometimes when you feel like you go to professionals and then sometimes you feel like it's getting worse. It's because they don't it's because it's so hard to try and ascertain and pick the correct pathway to get out.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and sometimes even without the professional help, like there's always ways to sort of alleviate or at least try and get some semblance of betterment in life, because I mean, like, I know that my friends have noticed that when I met one of my friends, he managed to improve my life massively, and until now, of course.
Yeah.
But it's because if I look at myself a year and 3/4 ago, I'm not the same person, and I know I'm not, because
Yeah.
if I looked at myself from then as opposed to myself in August, because that's probably a better way to put it. When I say not totally different, but like the qualities of personality are there. It's just the mood is better, the outlook is better, and like you can have sometimes it just like there are so many ways to get better.
Yeah.
That sometimes the professional ways don't necessarily help, but they do sort of like it's sort of like a guide way,
Yeah,
and
sort of a catalyst, I suppose.
yeah, and also you have to remember that let's be honest here, as Fenris has stated earlier, the pills aren't always the way out.
Yeah.
Because
they work better for some people than they do for others, and chemical reception in the brain is different for everyone, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and also
exactly.
Yeah, there's also.
Well, could I talk about the psychology of depression?
Give me a moment.
Right, am I
Give me a
allowed to?
moment.
Okay.
Because it's like because I still need to finish this. The the vibrations are hurting, but but also the fact that these pills can they can obviously they change the chemical things in your brain. So these pills do have these pills do have effects that can also be sometimes even negative initially. Because I remember being talking about the possible side effects and having to sort of be monitored essentially, because sometimes the chemicals can change negatively with the pills, because these things unfortunately do happen. Um, and
Now can I talk about it?
not you're so impatient.
Yes,
Stop.
because I haven't said anything.
I would be too if I need to memory dump. So
But it's like, remember, it's like, because it's so hard to try and find the correct, you know, as in terms like, for example, with Fenris, the pills didn't work. For me, I didn't get pills because I knew that if I'd have to be in a worse state, personally worse state. Like, this is under my own opinion. I'd have to be in the
yeah,
worst state in order to require pills, because I know that I'm in that limbo where it's okay. I can get myself to near normal, but at the same time, um, it's sort of like it's a fragile way to get up there. Because if something
yeah,
serious happens, like for example recently, it can cause a massive downfall if not treated properly. I mean, I've
yeah,
also had other mental health issues that aren't necessarily dealing with like depression, or low mood or stuff like that, because I've also had to deal with PTSD. Or rather, I am still having to deal with
yeah,
PTSD. It's alleviated at the moment, but now I've got a new traumatic situation on hand.
yeah,
So it is, I've had to deal with that professionally with CBT, and it's sort of like it's worked, but only to a small extent. It's allowed me to get over one of the more traumatic sections of my life, but trying to apply CBT onto other parts of other traumatic situations doesn't necessarily work, because there is no one way to deal with even a situation.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And now we can go to Minnie, who wants to talk about that thing so desperately.
Yes. Okay. Right. You all went on about your antidepressant pills,
Yeah,
drugs, yeah, SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which you could take, or you take Prozac or the other stuff, which, because serotonin is heavily linked to depression. Heavily linked, I say that because it's really impossible to find one. There's no one cause of a mental health illness, any of them, except a couple which are genetic.
Yeah.
But for depression, it's highly linked to serotonin, and so serotonin is a neurotransmitter between the synapse of the neurons in your brain. If that's not too complex for everyone.
I remember enough GCSE biology to remember
Yeah,
this.
exactly. GCSE biology, but with a couple of
everything you say makes sense to me.
psychology
So
terms in there. So yeah, the drug will then either get rid of some receptors or just limit the amount of serotonin that gets transferred between the synapse. So, which can help people with depression, but not always. Drugs is only a cheaper and quicker way to deal with it.
Yeah, you'll still have
But
to take the wheel at some point or another.
It doesn't always work. It doesn't work for everyone, because guess what? We're all different. Some people have depression for totally other causes. it's part of it is biological. There is somewhere along the line a combination of genes that, when they are exposed to a certain environment, will make the person feel depressed, and you can't stop that. That's not your fault. It's the same with aggression and the MAOH gene, where if that's exposed to a specific environment, anyone carrying the gene could become more aggressive than other people. Very complex. Won't go into too much detail for you there.
Yeah, please don't.
So yeah, but otherwise, drugs combined with CBT is really good, and it's like heavily recommended. CBT works. It's more costly. Well, I mean, it's on the NHS, so it doesn't really matter.
CBT only seems to work for a certain amount of people. My mum's been on it and it
Yeah.
worked for her, but Chloe's been on it, but it hasn't worked for her. Cognitive behavior
C-
therapy is only for the people who are willing for it to work.
Yeah,
Really.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
like
I'd
talking
say that
talking therapy is the same as well, because I really don't like talking, so I didn't really take the option.
yeah,
If you get what I mean.
CBT is only really it's not for everyone. But then again, drugs is also not for everyone. Like, you just have to do what's right for you. Everyone is different. Remember that there won't be, like, there's no point in going on complaining about how shit the NHS is, because guess what? You have an NHS.
Yeah,
Like,
the Americans
just
don't.
you have one. No one else in the world has an NHS. So it's just because the specific drug is not working for you, just because the CBT is not working for you, you can't go back and blame it on an NHS, because guess what? They wouldn't have anything different in any other country for you.
And like, judging by how little research there is on, how little research there is on specific causes of mental health, they really can't do better. It's the best they are trying to do, and if it doesn't work, then
The fact that we've got this far in the period of history already is incredibly impressive. The fact that we have limited it down to serotonin, the fact that we have figured out that there's some genetic explanation for depression, like all these things, is already such a huge advancement in society.
Yeah, but there's still a few extra steps you have to take.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that we're done.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. There's so much more research because there's still going on. Still to this day, there's still things happening, research going on, new findings being found for these for this, and yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, what I'm saying is you can't really blame one thing. You can't really blame the other. Like, we're all different. We can't tailor a medication to a specific person. It just doesn't work that way. And you can't give everyone a brain scan. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking through the chats and I'm seeing that, people are putting up you do have to, there's one thing that, you're going to get all the help that you need, but there's another thing that you just need. It's having the will to improve yourself is also another thing that you have to have in order to improve yourself in order to get yourself out of a situation mentally, because it's hard. Sometimes it can be really, 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 really hard to find the motivation to get out of the hole that mental health has dug you. Sometimes, I know that I've had the will, which is why I'm still here. But I know that there are so many others who who end up becoming sick and tired of trying to sort of fight this war, and sometimes it can unfortunately lead to situations where the whole situation is completely untenable. It's like, you know it's another you have to remember that, if you're stuck in a mental health issue and stuck in a mental health position, just remember, stuck dealing with mental health, remember, there is always a way. There is always a way, no matter how hard it is, because anything can be fixed if you put your mind to it.
Yeah, even though it might not initially cooperate at first, Like
Yeah,
you need that push for it to cooperate, like many people such as myself did.
yeah, it takes a while, and sometimes sometimes your first go doesn't work, sometimes your third go, sometimes your 75th go doesn't necessarily work, but you need
But
that one go for it to work,
yeah, and like you need like it like I sound a bit of a hypocrite saying this. Like it's so much easier said than done, but you need to not give up
Yeah,
because you never know how far your solution is. It might literally just be around the corner. You're not looking hard enough for it, or
and
it's screamingly obvious, but it's just flown past you, and it might seem so out of reach.
or
But
also it could be a situation where you because I know that one can end up in situations where you basically end up being desperate to find happiness and
absolutely,
end up making wrong decisions in order to do that.
yeah,
And you know, when you're in that position in the third person, it's hard to try and say, because they know they're trying to make themselves happy, to be like, you know, I know you're making the wrong decisions, because it's hard.
mm,
Um, but at the same time, it's like you have to remember that the only way for someone to find I mean the only way for someone to find out it's a wrong decision without you having to tell them is unfortunately by letting them learn, and that can
yeah,
be quite risky,
mm,
because I have to speak about that from experience, first hand experience from myself. So yeah, it does mean that right now it's it's hard to try and sort of fix or deal with mental health, but there is always a way out. There's always a way
yeah,
out that keeps you alive. By the way, just to point this out, there's always a way out that keeps you alive, because it means that you know if you give up, then you don't know what could have happened.
yeah,
You don't know what because you end up leaving people, even yourself, a load of unknowns and a load of things that So the best way to deal with it is, remember, you have to um, keep on going, keep on pushing, and
mm,
one of the best ways to deal with that is to have a massive support network. I mean, I want to now move on to the topic of dealing with support networks, because for example, I built one.
yeah,
I built one for myself. Yeah, I actually built one for a few of my friends, just to be like, to be there for each other, and also to create new friendships. And it's worked in a way that it's brought us a lot together. Unfortunately, it
yeah,
hasn't. It also hasn't worked in some ways, but
mm,
it is a serious situation. When you have to build a network around you that you feel very comfortable with, that you can turn to in the darkest of times. And why else would I have besties such as Minnie? Why else would I have long term friends such as Omar? And
yeah.
why else would I have such strong sods as Fenris?
Oh, exactly.
Exactly. It's trying to get a network built around you, so that you can turn to. It's hard when you're in a rut to try and make a network. Sometimes other people might help you
And
find.
like the network doesn't even necessarily have to be big. Like
Yeah,
I've worked with like literally two or three people, other people with like 10 people in their safety. But as as we discussed earlier, it's all about what works best for you.
and what works best in the situation that you're in.
Yeah,
Because I
exactly.
remember when my grandfather passed,
Yeah,
I had a very small network,
yeah,
3 people, um, one of which is here, uh, Minnie,
yeah.
because I know you've had to deal with me several times. How does it?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Yeah, how do you deal with I mean, like, how is it to be in you know, a support net, to deal with a support network when things go wrong?
It's my duty. I don't know. What am I meant to feel? I mean, it's not ideal, but it doesn't get to me. I'm just like,
I'm thinking more your
wanna call?
experiences. I mean your experiences rather.
When you're sad, I just ask you to vent to me. Venting works well because some people just need a place where they can get it all out and they don't have someone who's constantly pestering them on what they should do next. I'm just like, tell me everything that you need to tell me and I'll just accept it and move on. I know I sound really mean. I'm coming across seriously heartless. Honestly, just
No,
go
I
with it.
understand.
Like there's nothing you can do. You can't be there you can't be there physically. So just offer them. Sometimes people want to vent in a call. Sometimes people want to vent just texting, and I'll just offer them hugs and cuddles and love and tell them that they're appreciated because they are.
Yeah.
I'm welling up with tears.
Aw. Talking of tears.
Shut up! You're not.
Talking
I'm
of
not. I'm
tears.
not that kind of person to make anyone cry.
No, this is tears of joy.
Yeah.
No, tears of joy is the one thing I don't make people do. Tears of sadness,
Tears
Oh, dear.
of sadness are such a big hate react. Exist.
Yeah.
tears of
Also,
sadness. Good fun.
next we're going to go to. I want to talk to Fenris about his, the support network that you've got specifically. Just more detail on it and how that's helped you.
I haven't had that much of a support network until I joined you guys. You guys have been some of my best. And if I've had any issues throughout, I've always spoken to you. Also, I just think I'm always there for you guys instead of you being there for me. Like in the recent situation, I've been there for you all quite regularly.
Oh yeah.
Regularly.
You've had to help me by proxy.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you came down last week.
Yeah.
Yes, support networks are probably the most crucial thing. Oh, pardon me, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Because they're always there for you. They're always going to be there for you, and it can mean the world to have someone who's just a pillar, a strong person to be there for you. Or I mean, sometimes it can be at their expense in terms of their own mental health. But because I've been there, I've taken my own mental health to the side in order to help others.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I'd happily do that for myself to help others, but I hate to think of myself as a burden if I ask other people. If you get what I mean, that's what stopped me reaching out, and it's not fun.
Yeah, I mean, I know, again, yeah, it can feel that you're a burden, but remember, there are people who are willing to help you. Your friends are there. Your friends, even if they don't necessarily know the right words, are willing to help you.
Indeed.
And they'll try their best. True friends will try their best as hard as they can.
Absolutely. 100%.
And, it can mean sometimes that you even have to emergency meet up with someone. Because I've had to do that a few times.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Omar, can you also elaborate on your experiences with support circles?
Okay. Where were my support circle? Question, because I didn't really have a fixed circle per se. I had like a few friends I felt comfortable with. So like, well, Yasik mainly, and then a few other people. Like they all lived fairly far away, which was pretty unfortunate. But like, if I had anything to tell them, I'd usually tell them before anyone else. And thankfully, they're fairly solid. And there to listen and everything, and even give me advice if if I need it. And it's not even a case of in return I help them out if they need it. No, I tend to help people out by default if they need it. So, like, for instance, when someone had, who I shall not name, had a problem in their household, they asked if they could come round mine. Yeah, okay, come round mine. I'll make us tea and we'll watch a movie or something. And yeah, and it's that sort of interconnection, that sort of comradeship that you really, really need in support circles, especially because they may not even say it to you directly, or they may not say it to you at all, but meeting up and doing something you both enjoy, or doing something that the other person enjoys, is something so crucial. It might even be life, the situation that affects life and death. They might not show it. They might even show gratitude for it, but it really relaxes them. And I'm speaking from personal experience. Like, when I get invited round someone who I really care about's house, I mean, I'm not naming them again because of privacy issues. It honestly takes such a weight off my shoulders. Be myself about what affects me. Yeah, I'm eternally grateful for that. And even though I do quite a bit, I wish I could still do more.
Yeah, it's. I mean, to be fair, like having the support circle around me that I've had to have, has meant the world to me. It's sort of like, even if you know, I know that without the support circle I had, it would have been a hell of a lot longer to get over. Well, I'm not say get over, get through. When my granddad passed, and
Yeah,
right now I would definitely be in a worse state if I didn't have my support circle around me.
yeah,
Because I mean, it's like support circles are crucial, because without them, what is one going to do? Because fighting it on your own can be too hard. Um,
and eventually lead to devastating consequences.
yeah, and sometimes the support circles are there to say to you, don't give up, and even if you have to deal with it, because sometimes going up the ladder back to normality can be, it it can hurt, and it can fail
It's
sometimes, and
Yeah, it's not always the
it's
ladder that has all the rungs in, or that has all the rungs properly sanded. It's difficult for some people, and you need that sort of support from sides.
yeah, it's like
And it's
assembling.
yeah, and it's unfortunate that people, not everyone has that support from all sides. And if only there was some way to increase outreach and the help that they can get, it would make so many lives so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know that there are mental health charities out there that are looking out for people, that are trying to they obviously have to be funded, of course.
Yeah,
But they're out there trying to help people. Because I mean, like, for example, I went into my local Mind recently, Mind, the mental health charity, just to just to speak to someone about what I'd had to experience lately, and it was it just felt like there was a little weight off my shoulders, because it just felt like there's an ear to listen to. I mean,
yeah,
there's obviously things that they do more than just an ear to listen to, because they obviously have support networks and professional help that can have
yeah.
and always remember that even if you can't even access your support circles right away, there's also like official ways to try and help yourself without obviously alerting the police or whatsoever,
Yeah.
because the Samaritans, um,
Mm.
I've called them before, and they've helped me calm down. Um,
Mm. And like another one I'll actually slide in as well, even though I have to use them. If Do we have viewers like
yeah, we have
18 under?
viewers.
Okay, yeah. Well, viewers 18 and under. 0800 1111 child line.
Yeah.
Honestly, I it's like I've never had to use them, but I know people who have, and they honestly cannot recommend it enough. They're sort of really in touch with youth issues, and if you need anyone to talk to, just remember those 8 numbers: 0800 1111.
Yeah. Also, for those, yeah, I mean, for those for those who don't fight, who can't fight with a circle, who don't have a circle, and it's hard to try and build one yourself because it is really hard to try and build
Yeah,
one. You
absolutely.
know, even to find that one friend, sometimes it's too hard to find that one friend. I mean, especially with what's dealing with mental health, is like trying to find that one sod that can help you. Um, it's always try. You know, it's trying to outreach yourself to try and get help because the only way really you can get help is to basically ask and scream for it because um, communication is how you get across.
Yeah, it's absolutely key.
Yeah,
Like mental health is a silent killer. If you're not silent, then there's less of a chance it could do something to you. If you see where
exactly. Yeah, I know exactly firsthand.
I'm.
And for those who can't, for those who are you know sometimes family doesn't exactly help. Um, I person. I mean, what do you guys would do like? Because I know, I'll go straight to Omar with this.
Yeah.
How do you deal with like your parents not not being able to sort of grasp the situation,
Yeah. I mean, it's. I don't really know
and
how I
what do you
dealt with
do
it.
and what do you do in that situation then?
Mm. I mean, obviously, key example of this is I think first time I told my mum about. Actually, no, the first time my parents know the fact that I've attempted self harm. Like I've not told them. I've not told my dad about my suicide. I've told, but the first time I told them about self harm, they really, really, really didn't take the situation that well. They thought because obviously I'm Muslim, I'm somewhat religious. My dad, especially, is more religious than I am, and he sort of took a religious take on it, and that wasn't really the response that I needed. And it's like, whoa, okay, right, I'm literally doing things to myself I'm not meant to be doing. I need sort of support and not to be told about what Satan's playing at. And I guess what helped is talking to other people about it and saying, well, obviously it took a while for me to be able to muster up the strength to come out about it, but once I told them it, as I said, like knowing there's an ear to listen to takes such a weight off your shoulders, and it's like it doesn't even have to be a close friend. Like, I mean, I know it makes you feel more, but there's like mental health forums that are within easy reach. There's a group on Facebook that especially aims to help um, men with mental health issues called Men Unite, and like you could be so open about the things there. There's such a big network of support there. You can pretty much just rely on a lot of people in there, and it's fantastic. So my sort of advice is with family not being able to take it, like even though it might be hard, try and find someone else to talk to about it. But whatever you do, don't suffer in silence. It's literally the worst thing you can do. Full stop.
Exactly, exactly.
Mm.
And that is one thing certainly you who are listening will have to remember. If you are suffering from any mental health issue, do not suffer in silence. We're all, we are here for you. People are here for you. We are here for you in a sense.
Mm.
We do these podcasts so we can inform and we can talk about it because, you know, these things are serious. Mental health is
Mm.
serious, and
My PMs are always open.
Yeah, so mine.
Loads of people talk to me about this stuff. Like, loads of people. I have people texting me about mental health issues every single day. So, if you ever need someone, a shoulder to cry on, you got all of us. We
Yeah, boys.
are always
I
happy
mean,
to
I'm
help.
open, but no one ever messages me apart from Oswig. So,
Same.
yeah. if Benny, if you could send some of those people my way, if I can help them in some, be
Some way.
great. But,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
or would you be kind enough to drop our Discord usernames in
Oh.
or something like that?
Well, I'll be. I mean, if you guys are okay with that,
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
fine with
I
that.
won't mind.
Sure, go for it.
Right. Once I upload it onto tubular system, I will put up the.
Tubular.
Yes. Can you guys also? Yeah. Can you guys put it on the in the chat?
Description.
Just
Sure.
here. And yeah. On that note, I want to say thank you guys. And I'm going to personally say my final my words. It's mental health can be an utter hellhole to try and fight, to try and face. I've seen it first hand and third hand. I don't know how you can see something second hand, but um,
Mm.
when it's like second hand refers to information. But anyway,
Yeah.
I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it on myself, and I've seen it on others. How mental health can change. How the mental, your mental health can deteriorate so quickly. How your mental health can improve so much with small things. It really varies. What can happen.
Mm.
But remember, life isn't easy. Life is one of the most challenging things, because it is the main thing that you will be dealing with for your life is your life.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? But it's also the fact that never give up. Even if there is a small, tiny, 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 tiny chance, it's still a chance. Don't ever, ever, ever let that small, tiny bit of chance go away, because it's always there. It's always there. You just have to somehow get to it. It's hard sometimes, but remember, getting to it is always possible.
Yeah.
And never give up, because it might be so hard it might be so hard, and maybe even people will be like your own thoughts will be screaming at you to give up. But remember,
Right.
don't, because if you give up, you don't know what could have happened. You don't know what could happen in the future, because you never know that you could be stuck in a massive mental rut right now, but in a few years' time, you could end up with a nice, lovely fiance, for example.
That is very true.
Exactly, because like Fenris, in your deepest, darkest, times, you didn't. I'm guessing you didn't think that you would be a few years later have a nice, lovely fiance, and
No, that is very true.
exactly. Like in like a few years ago, I did not think I would be having, I would a few years ago, I did not think I would have um four best friends, um four best friends that I can say, like, safely say they're really, really close, and the best sods that I've ever had. And don't get me wrong, I've also had other friends who are really, really good. So it's like, if you told me that in the space of in the space of 2 and a bit years, I would improve a friendship to the point where it would be very close, that I'll be able to turn to him as much as possible, improve another friendship to become a really close bestie, and then find two new besties. If you told me that 2 years ago, I would be saying, "Get out of here! Are you mad?" But I've ended up with, exactly that, and unfortunately, even though I've lost one of them, it is staggering to think that one can improve and things can change in the space of such a short space of time because you believe in that small bit of hope. And
I
that's
mean,
important.
if someone came to me over 16 months ago, okay, I joined the furry fandom late May of last year. If someone said to me before then, you're going to make some good friends over the next year, and you're going to be grateful for it, I wouldn't have believed them.
Exactly.
But that one thought I had ages ago when I downloaded Amino from so people I watch on YouTube for heavy metal stuff. That one thought of I want to see what else is on this app, and found the furries. That one thought of why not? Let's all about and stuff for UK First Chat. Good friends with a lot of people. I've met so many great people. Why didn't I do this sooner? You know.
Exactly. It's like, sometimes just one small incremental thing can lead to so much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to friends, making friends,
Yeah.
having that support network around you.
Yeah.
You might not know it yourself. You might have that one friend who you might not talk to that often, but if you're in that sort of situation, you could talk to them. If you can see where I'm coming from.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes even the most unlikeliest of people can be the ones that you will need the most.
Yeah,
It can
exactly.
be. So
Like,
never discount anyone.
like again, like a few years ago, if someone would told me I lived 2 suicide attempts, somehow get closer to old friends, i.e., you, or like I would have said, catch yourself on. But time is a feisty mistress, and clearly did her work. So
Feisty
here I am.
mistress.
I couldn't think of a better word, and I wanted to make it sound really mystical.
Feisty mistress.
And on that feisty mistress bombshell.
if she is a feisty mistress, she'll be quite bombshell. But we'll talk about that another.
And yes, on that, yes, I think we have to end on that comment because it's funny.
Right, cheers, man.
I want to do that. I mean, yes, this podcast is serious, but remember as well, laughter is very, very good.
The best medicine. It's
It is
like,
one of the best
Oh,
medicines.
I got out of my darkest moments by literally joking about them, and some of the jokes I made were. I'd rather.
Yes, I've heard them before, so I
Yeah,
know.
you've both seen and you have theory
Yeah,
of how dark it goes.
it can go dark, but remember, laughter's the best medicine. And on that feisty mistress, I'd
wish.
like to give thanks. I'd like to give thanks to Minnie, to Omar, and
Hey.
to Fenris.
Hi.
And thank you guys so much for listening. I know that this situation I have to live through right now can be quite. It's not exactly easy. But I'm doing this for you guys. I'm doing this for people who are listening. I'm doing this for myself as well because podcast is something that's going to be consistent and it's going to happen, and
Yeah.
it's good. It's good to air out your feelings. And
It's good to just talk about things.
exactly, exactly, and that's what this podcast does every week. And that's why I will keep on doing this. And yes, this, in memory of Cameron, you know, thank you for giving me. I have to say to Cameron, thank you for giving me your friendship because it's meant a lot and it's helped me through my darkest times. So remember, anyone can help you, even if they've got their own issues. Sometimes they do some they help you, and at sometimes the expense of their own mental health. But remember that don't ever take it for granted. Don't take life for granted, because you only get one shot.
You only get one chance.
Yeah. And on that, and you only
I'm
get
kind of good.
and you only get one chance to say the words "feisty mistress."
The mistress.
Feisty mistress.
And
And
myself.
isn't it?
Yes, and I'll say myself and the feisty mistress will bid you a good night.
Good night.
Peace out, fellas.